Welcome back. This is Bob, and
I'm Bob, and I collect stamps.
welcome back. This is Bob Collects Stamps, and I'm Bob, and I'm out here in not quite my backyard to tell you a little bit about this. Sadly, after I shot that opening, I had to move inside to record the rest of this video. Interstate 8 is less than a quarter mile from the cactus, and I had difficulty filtering out the traffic noise over my voice. I guess this is not the extreme philately that I had hoped. I thank you for watching and hope you'll like this video and subscribe. These are the 1981 Desert Plants block of U.S. stamps with Scott numbers 1942 to 1945. They feature 4 different desert plants, 3 cacti, and 1 agave. They were originally announced as part of the 1981 stamp program as a cactus set, but someone pointed out to the USPS that agave are not cactus. In fact, they are related to lilies. The name of the issue was changed to Desert Plants, which works just fine. The issue was to be released on October 23, 1981, but a rate change came through before they were printed. The change was effective November 1st, so this issue was held up while they were redesigned to accommodate the new rate and be valid postage longer than a week. The Desert Plants issue was finally released on December 11, 1981 at the new 20-cent rate. First day ceremonies were held at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum in Tucson, Arizona. The issue is lithographed and engraved with a combination of offset and intaglio printing. The offset printed colors are yellow, red, blue, green, and 2 different browns. The intaglio colors are blue, brown, and green. The issue was designed by Frank J. Waslick of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Mr. Waslick, who died in 2013, designed many other stamps, including the Owl Wildlife Conservation set from 1978. Another of his designs was done for the Tourism Aerogram, released in September 1981. This set is perf 11 and is tagged. The first of the stamps on the left features a fishhook barrel cactus. Cactus wieslezeni. The fishhook name comes from the curved spines which can form almost a halo around the plant. They grow in full sun, and in addition to the spines, almost perfect protection against herbivores, they may help create a thin layer of slightly cooler air against the plant's skin during the hottest sunny days here in the southwest. Another common name for them is the candy barrel cactus, because a sweet dessert can be made from the flesh of it. The plant can be used as an emergency water source if you're lost in the desert, but beware. The juices contain oxalic acid and can cause diarrhea, not something you want to get if you're already dehydrated. By the way, many foods we regularly eat contain oxalic acid. Chives and spinach are among the higher levels among commonly eaten vegetables. That might be a good excuse to not eat your spinach. The fishhook barrel cactus is native to northern Mexico and the southwestern United States. They usually are found either on the open plain or on rocky ridges. Young plants are ball-shaped but eventually grow to become more cylindrical. They can grow to a diameter of about 27 inches and can get about 6 feet high, though they have been recorded growing up to 3 feet in diameter and 10 feet tall. During the summer, they sprout red or yellow flowers which grow from the top of the plant. The flowers are pollinated by cactus bees. The unripe fruit is green, turning yellow after the flower dries up. The fruits are eaten by birds, javelina, and mule deer. Fishhook cactus are grown as ornamental plants in many areas. The spines, while making a quite beautiful drape around the plant, are quite vicious. They are long and can penetrate even sturdy boots. The best advice is not to bother them. Then they don't bother you. One more common name is the compass barrel cactus. Older plants tend to lean southward toward the sun. This probably helps the plant keep a little cooler. Most plants will bend toward the light as they grow. Since the intense sun is always in the south here, it's no surprise these plants would do the same. Most cactus don't do it, but these plants prefer open spaces, and pointing their top toward the sun would keep their sides out of direct sunlight and a bit cooler. Traditionally, indigenous peoples, including the O'odham peoples in this area, have eaten the flowers and used the sour fruit as an emergency food. The middle top stamp is the one non-cactus of the block. It is an agave, Agave deserti, which is in the lily family. This species grows wild from a bit of the California coast to along the Colorado River. Unfortunately, it doesn't grow in my backyard or near it. Farthest east it grows is the Colorado River Valley. There are many species of agave, and they all have a ring of long, stiff, pointed leaves called a rosette. These grow from a usually very short stem. On this species, the leaves are gray-green and tipped and edged with sharp spines. The leaves may grow to 30 inches, and you really know if you have run into one. I can tell you from personal experience. In this, they are like many yucca species and some other plants. I've managed to so far avoid the spines of all 3 cacti on this stamp set, but have been stuck several times by agaves. And no, I have not avoided all cactus spines. Fibers in agave leaves can be used to weave cloth and make rope. The young flower stalks and stems, and even the leaves, are edible if roasted or boiled. Today, the leaves are more commonly used as animal fodder than consumed by humans. As with other agaves, the hearts can be fermented into an alcoholic drink. The drink made from any agave is called mezcal. The blue agave of Jalisco, Mexico, is the source of the most well-known form of mezcal, tequila. In the wild, a single agave rosette may live for 50 or 60 years before flowering. The plant then puts up a flower stalk, perhaps 24 feet tall, that carries the yellow flowers well above the plant. Growing the flower stalks takes all the energy the plant has been able to produce and save, and the rosette of leaves dies after flowering. The mistaken belief that it takes a full 100 years to flower gives them the name century plant. Though the rosette of leaves dies, the underground portions of the plant often resprout, forming a ring of plants around the original. In Anzo Borrego, east of San Diego, there are agave rings up to 24 feet across that may be 1,000 years old. Of all the agaves, this is the most desert-tolerant. They grow in places no other self-respecting agave would grow, and really deserve the title of desert plant. The middle lower stamp is of Opuntia basilaris, the Beavertail Cactus. This is one of many species of Opuntia that grow around the Americas. This is another plant that doesn't grow right in my backyard, but it comes closer than the agave. As a group, the Opuntia cacti are called prickly pears. The fruit of larger species are about pear size and, like many cactus fruits, are edible. The Beavertail cactus has the widest range of any of the 4 plants in this stamp block and grows the farthest north into Nevada and Utah. Some indigenous peoples ate the fruits, buds, and seeds of this species as staple foods. This is a small species of Opuntia growing only to about 17 inches tall, but a plant may include hundreds of fleshy, flattened pads. Each pad of a prickly pear plant is a stem, and in many species the pads are edible. The pads are botanically spineless, but there are many, many bristles, called glaucids, that are extremely sharp and easily penetrate skin and fabric. So most people don't know that they are spineless. Opuntias have been introduced in several places around the world, especially noteworthy in Australia and South Africa. Australia imported about 20 different species during the 19th century to use as natural fencing. Unfortunately, one species, like many introduced species around the world, loved the Australian climate so much that it spread quickly and overran 60 million acres of farmland in Queensland and New South Wales. The problem was so bad that farms were simply abandoned and small towns became all but ghost towns. In 1926, Australia brought in a moth, Cactoblastus cactorum, from South America that eats Opuntia, and it worked quickly. The moth eradicated 90% of the Opuntia by 1933. The farming and small communities rebounded so well that new government centers were put up throughout both states. There are at least 2 monuments to the moth. One is in Miles and another in Derby, both in Queensland. The cactus threat is still real in Australia, however. Some of the other introduced species are not preyed upon by the moth and are still invading land in both Queensland and New South Wales. South Africa also imported opuntia, originally for the same reason, fencing, about the same time. The plant became established there and again took over a lot of land. After poisoning many acres and people with arsenic in an unsuccessful effort at control, South Africa also brought in the moth. The moth was such a success there that South Africans have come to a truce with the plant and make use of it for many purposes, including making a beer from it. Because the plant has so many uses, there have been protests whenever the government has suggested complete eradication. Fortunately for them, it seems, South Africa did not import other species of prickly pear. On the other end of the scale, the opuntia moth has been accidentally introduced into the Caribbean, Mexico, and the United States, where it is threatening local species of prickly pear, including commercial crops in Mexico. Of course, the threatened species also include the Beavertail cactus. Finally, the right-hand stamp in the block is the giant saguaro, Carnegie giganteus. Saguaros have the smallest range of the four plants. They occur only in the Sonoran Desert, and if you see a wild saguaro, you're in that desert. If you see a movie of the Monument Valley and see a saguaro, you know it's a garden plant. You know the same about anything coming from El Paso, Texas. There are no saguaros east of Arizona, and only a spotty few in extreme eastern California. Saguaro can grow to over 40 feet tall. 78 feet is the record for plant from near here. The plants don't grow the well-known side arms until they are at least 50 years old, and many don't ever grow arms. The plants grow very slowly and may be only a quarter-inch tall by the age of 2 years. Saguaros, though, can live over 200 years, and when they die, their skeletons often stand for many more years before completely falling. The wood is very hard and lasts a long time, even in exposed, dry desert conditions. It was and is used as a building material. There are regulations concerning the collection of wood, but they are not as strict as the full protection against disturbance of the living plant. Many cacti do have wood. Cholla are another group of cacti that have it. You may be familiar with the open weave of cholla wood if you keep aquarium fish, reptiles, or birds. It's often sold as a decoration for aquariums and reptile cages. The wood floats until it is water-saturated, but then sinks quite easily. It is also used for bird perches and can be stuffed with treats to make up a parrot puzzle for their entertainment. Saguaros store large amounts of water in their column, and a fully hydrated plant can store well over 2 tons worth. The ribs, seen in the skeleton, allow the plants to expand and contract with increase and decrease in the amount of water in a saguaro. The white flowers bloom in spring and early summer and are pollinated by bats, bees, and birds. Like most columnar cacti, the flowers grow at the top of the columns. They open for only 24 hours and require many visits by many pollinators to set seeds. They cannot pollinate themselves, so must get pollen from another plant in order to reproduce. The fruits ripen and are ready to be released just before the monsoon summer wet season. Coyotes, javelina, and doves are the main dispersers of the seeds. The fruit are edible and can be eaten raw, cooked, or in a jelly. A drink can also be made from the fruits. The raw seeds can be eaten, but are mostly indigestible. They can be ground into flour, but they are now mostly used as chicken feed. The Coronado expedition of the mid-16th century reported the saguaro fruits being made into a wine. Woodpeckers will build cavity nests in the saguaro, and other birds will use the holes too. The cactus, to protect itself, forms a scan lining the interior of the cavity so water does not leak out. The birds may make the cavity up to a year before they will need it, because it takes a while for that scab to form so the nest doesn't flood. The scabs, called cactus boots, can be collected from dead saguaros and used as drinking vessels or small storage jars. When I say that wood and other products can be used by humans, please recall that these cacti, as most cacti, are fully protected under state and federal law. Cactus rustling is real and a real threat to wild populations. Indigenous peoples, such as our local Tohono O'odham, are allowed to use the plants as a historic right, but others are tightly controlled and you should check with local authorities before disturbing saguaros or any cacti wherever they may occur. All in all, this is one of my favorite blocks of U.S. stamps, and cacti are some of my favorite plants. Can you tell? I thank you for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have making it. This one was super cool. Remember, in your stamp collecting, but not in your cactus collecting, don't follow anybody else's rules, and always take care of yourself and your stamps. I'm Bob, and I collect stamps and love cactus. Thanks for watching.